don't understand, and spend an enormous amount of time, entrepreneurs spend an enormous amount of time asking one question. How do you find investors? But perhaps the better question is, if an investor found me today, would my business actually be ready? And later today, you'll also hear from a group that is, I believe, is investor ready, and they'll be coming on to share a little bit about their project, give you an example of what that actually looks like. And so we think it would be good as we frame this conversation to have a real opportunity that you can actually listen to and hear from someone or a group that is actually investment ready. And so investment readiness though is about it's about far more than having a great idea or an impressive pitch deck. It's about leadership. It's about governance. It's about financial discipline, and it's also about scalability. It's about demonstrating that your business is capable of delivering sustainable value. And so, born rich, rewriting your financial story as our theme today is also challenging us to think beyond raising capital. The task for us is to consider, how do we think about wealth? How do we create value, and how do we steward resources? And ultimately, how do we build business that create lasting economic impact? So today we have two of our outstanding leaders with us, Dr. Nicholas Harvey, who has been instrumental in developing the Concept Capital program within the GOC. We've partnered up with him, and he's helping entrepreneurs to understand the journey from vision to investment readiness. He does his show every Wednesday at midday, so you should actually lock arms with him, because if anyone that can help you to understand and think about being investor ready, it is Dr. Harvey himself. And we have Sabrina Lamb, who has dedicated her career to empowering entrepreneurs and families and communities through financial education, wealth creation, and economic empowerment. So together, these two leaders bring complementary perspectives that I believe will challenge and inspire and equip all of us to think differently about preparing for capital. So thank you both for being here. And like I said, you'll hear an actual case of an investment that is available, and you can make those calls for yourself in terms of, is this is the path that we all want to trot if we're seeking investment. So I'm going to ask, maybe start with Sabrina, to say hi and introduce yourself, and I guess we can go to Dr. Harvey as well. But as you do that, I want you to tap in onto my first question here as you introduce yourself. Because we often hear from entrepreneurs and business owners, I need funding, I need an investment. But from your perspective, what does it actually take? What does it actually mean to be investment ready? So I'll give you an opportunity to answer that while you introduce yourself. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yes, and hello, everyone, no matter where you are on the planet. I am Sabrina Lamb, the founder and CEO of Wekeza, which means save and invest in Swahili. We provide multilingual financial education and access to investing in US stocks and ETFs for Black folks here in America, as well as the African diaspora. And so, what that means for me in terms of being investor ready is first doing some self inventory, because our businesses are our babies and we know the importance of the work that we're doing. Each of us know that and understand, but are we conveying that information to a possible investor, whether that's an angel, whether it's a family and friends round, whether it's a VC? Are we conveying actually the value proposition, the opportunity in a very succinct way to an investor? I would really encourage everyone to just avoid those notions in terms of capital, what's available, what's not available, who's invested in who, because those stories don't serve you. And as we're having this conversation, and I have a couple of leave behinds for you so that you can continue your journey. Where am I in terms of Wekeza and raising capital? Yes, we've been invested in by Techstars, Accelerator, family and friends round we're currently operating, but our determination is that we're going to win no matter what. And that's how we approach this notion of being investor ready. But more to share. Back to you, Ricardo.
Awesome. Thank you, Sabrina. And please, before we are finished with the show, I'd love to invite you to download the Wekeza app. Check it out. See if that's a good fit for you. And Sabrina, let's make sure that everyone knows how to find that app before we're done here. Dr. Harvey.
Greetings, family, from around the world. How many of you have ever heard you've got to have a hustle? All right. We, as people of the diaspora, have always had a hustle. I was raised with that notion and idea with my father. From a young age, he had me working concessions at football stadiums, around college football stadiums, around Atlanta, where I'm from. The challenge with that hustle culture mindset is that when it comes to being investor ready, we don't need to be hustlers. We need to be business owners and CEOs. So I'm Dr. Nicholas Harvey, Principal and CEO of Nicholas Harvey Consulting, leading the Concept to Capital Funding Ready initiative for the GOC, where we help organizations become funding ready. And when they're ready, we can then connect them to appropriate funding opportunities. So I think it's so important for us to understand that this engagement and this endeavor is just more than we've ever thought. As we say here in the South, it's more than a notion. And we're here to support you in that, and glad to be with you on today and looking forward to the conversation.
All right, awesome. And he's not on the flyer that we've been promoting, but he's here. He's actually on camera too. My good friend Simo, who's actually here. I feel like I should pull him into the conversation because he's a really smart guy, and I think it would be good if I should. This is not planned, guys. I didn't plan to weave him into this. I wanted him to just present to you, but I would have loved to have him answer this question as an investor himself. Simo, please, if you may come off mute, just introduce yourself, and I would love to hear your perspective. What does it mean to be investor ready? Because you are in this place now as a use case, and this is beautiful. I think this is a beautiful conversation that we're gonna have. But I'd love to hear from your perspective.
Thanks. First of all, thank you, Ricardo, for introducing myself. I didn't anticipate this point of our conversation, but I think, look, we've got a lot to share. I can just to give a bit of background for myself and just for everybody else. So I come and I run a management consultancy called Wekeza. So what I do and what I spend time over the years is helping businesses get investor ready. So third party perspective, as a lawyer by training and practice over the years, works for various businesses. I moved into this space where I started management consultancy. In turn, throughout the journey, like life throws things at you, got the opportunity to start getting into the investment side. So both being on the side of helping businesses from a transactional lawyer perspective to then investing ourselves in a venture which now has become much more than we had anticipated, and I'm glad to share that. But I think in short, investor ready is to be thinking about the goal before you are at that goal. And what I mean by that is a lot of people think, well, I want to get equity, I want to get money into the business, but don't understand as soon as you get money into the business, somebody's going to want to ask questions and understand how are you going to get to it, because I'm investing for a return. Now, how do I talk to that? You have to have that vision very clear at the very outset. And I think it's not just one step ahead, it's time to 3 steps ahead, right? Whether you go from a private equity then to somebody who's going to buy, who's in the business, in the industry, that's hugely important. So that's just from a general perspective. I don't know whether this is the right time to talk a little bit about our venture, our journey, where we are at, and I'm happy to do so.
We're coming back to that. I want to whet people's appetite so they can kind of get ready for what's to come. So right about on the hour, Simo will bring you up to talk a little bit about this. Simo was on the Tuesday Talk, and so if you've been on Tuesday Talk yesterday, you probably would have heard a little bit about Simo and what he's working through a part of the largest, if you may, film studio in Africa by square meters. So this is incredible, right? And so there's a huge opportunity to be a part of this. But I want you to tell anybody else that's not here yet to make sure that they're here before Simo jumps on. But I'm going to go into the meat of the matter. So Simo, we'll get right back to you, but I'll get into the meat of the matter. Sabrina, maybe I'll start with you on why do so many business, you think, seek capital before they're truly prepared to receive it. You're at the intersection of helping entrepreneurs and families and young people, and they have to get to this place. But why do you think they try to get to the capital before they're really ready to get it?
That's a great question. Because you are sometimes, or we are sometimes, putting the cart before the horse. I mean, we really need to, as opposed to waiting for capital to come in, really focus on building the business, focusing on the business so that it's so irresistible that anyone who's aligned with your mission and your industry would want to. I think just not knowing what the process is in terms of readying your business, developing customers, your customer relation, making sure that you are, the person. Are you the person that needs to lead your business? Your team, the legal compliance is necessary, the financial reporting. And when I founded Wekeza, and I was hearing these words about, oh, what's your exit? Exit? This is my baby. Are you telling me that I gotta what? Exit? I'm going to own Wekeza forever. Well, what do you mean you want 40% of my business? And so then I had to learn what some of these so-called investors would actually ask of you, and how to prepare, and actually those answers. So now I have those answers, I have those understanding, but the fundamental goal, mission of investors is to get their money back, 5, 10-fold. And then I had to realize that. And then some want control over your business, over your decision making, want a board seat, or maybe they don't want a board seat. Are you ready for that? So the readiness in terms of the expectations of an entrepreneur, really have to understand those processes before you take in money. Because once you take in money, that's who you report to.
Yeah, and Dr. Harvey, what's your anything that you'd like to add to that? I mean, I know that you've developed this concept of capital. What have you been seeing in terms of why do you think folks put that cart before the horse, before the carriage before the horse in this case?
Surely, I totally agree. I think one of the things that we have to understand is this piece around just alignment, right? That alignment with the expectations of ourselves as founders and entrepreneurs, aligned with the expectations of the investor, as Sabrina has shared with us. Also, I think we have to understand this. We're answering a basic question here. And the basic fundamental question is, can we be trusted with money? Rule number one in borrowing money is pay me back. Rule number two, refer to rule number one. So what then become the additional expectations that are put upon us as founders and entrepreneurs? And so we like to talk about it in terms of those pieces that are trust builders within any given organization. So as Sabrina is saying, it makes your organization irresistible. It brings confidence, to an investor, because we say, clarity and confidence come before capital. And we're happy to talk more about that.
And I would also just dovetail on what Dr. Nicholas said, is that raise money not because you need money. So when you're coming to the table and you're desperate, oh my gosh, I need this money, you put yourself at a disadvantage almost. And I know we all need money. I need money. But if I'm focusing only on the customers and growing the business and let that capital come in later, you come in from more of a power position. But if you're coming in from a needy standpoint, Every entrepreneur, and I'm part of many entrepreneurial circles, they put themselves at a disadvantage. So even though you may feel, oh my gosh, how am I going to keep the lights on? How am I going to pay for this? How am I going to pay for that? That's not the time to raise. At least 6 months out, maybe a year out, as you're building your business and you're building your traction for your business, because that's what makes your business investor ready, that you have customers that you're serving, repeatable, revenue. That's what makes your business investable. One of the aspects.
Yeah, that is interesting. So and Sabrina, so while you're on that, the theme of today is obviously we talk about being born rich and rewriting your financial story. What does that actually mean to you?
Yes. Do you know, everyone, that we were all born rich, that we come from centuries of prosperity, and somehow, not somehow, deliberately, the story and our opportunities and access access to or seeing the role models in terms of prosperity has been interrupted. And what I'm saying is, if we always come to the table with a lack understanding, or my business is not worthy, or my business is not global, or my business is not sustainable, or need, as opposed to my value proposition is to scale my business to solve the pain point for my customers, whether B2B, B2C, or B2G globally. That's a different understanding. And so as entrepreneurs, I always say, and I always do my own inventory, Sabrina, what are you thinking about in terms of how do you value what Wekeza offers? What Wekeza is, transformational, what it is. And then, that's when you can attract, or not necessarily only attract, but also have those very confident conversations with people, entities, whether that's angel or VCs, investing or family investing in your business. But if you're coming to, in your own relationship with money, is from either a saboteur, and we look at our own personal finances, or we kind of experts in sabotaging our own finances. That's how we're going to operate with our own business. Are we dictators in terms of not sharing what's really happening, maybe with our team members? Are we successful in having a great relationship? That our personal understanding and our personal relationship with money dovetail over into how we operate our business. And if we don't have our own successful or understanding personal relationship with money and how we manage our personal funds, it's going to be uncovered when we're sitting in front of an investor, because they're going to ask those type of questions. Because number one, they have to make sure, because they're reporting to their LPs. Simo, I know you know about this, right? Yet reporting to their LPs who have given them the money to invest in others. We have to demonstrate that. And so this is a business, it's not a charity, but even in charities, nonprofit organizations, we have to demonstrate that we can successfully and ethically be ethical custodians of others' money.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And for those of us who are on the call who have invested and who may have money to invest, there sometimes may be a level of fear about, sort of, man, this is probably this is going to be a very, very crucial decision that I have to make. And I kind of wonder what's the correlation between what you just shared and on the other side, because we talk about those who are looking for investment, but then how does that correlate to those who have investment, have money and would like to put that money somewhere?
Well, I just want to also say that, and it may not answer your question directly, but I remember meeting with executives from the Ghanaian stock exchange years ago, and they were talking about culturally, it is not cultural that we expose all of our financials and all of our business. And that's why many, African stock exchanges don't have long listings, with the exception of maybe Egypt or South Africa or whatever, because many business owners don't want to be public with all their finances and all their decisions. That dovetails into us, all of us on the call. Are we willing to lay ourselves bare in front of an investor? Because that's going to be what's required, and it reflects our readiness to accept capital, somebody else's money.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Dr. Harvey, did you have anything to add to that?
Sure, please. Ricardo, I think it's important that you did raise that on both sides of the table, both from the investor side and from the founder entrepreneur side, that they have really the same fear. Is that fear of, what if I'm making a bad decision here? And all that's put into that. So it's important that on both sides of the table, we're able to bring confidence, create atmospheres of trust, so that from our side as founders and entrepreneurs, that we see ourselves mitigating that power dynamic where we feel that the investor has all the power and we really have nothing, so that then we can step up and say, you know what? We're not beggars, we're builders. We're not paupers, we're partners, and we can grow something together.
Powerful. And for those of you who are just joining us, welcome. This is the Power Hour. The hour is coming up pretty fast, but the power continues. This is a conversation about investment readiness, and we're talking to Sabrina Lamb of Wekeza and Dr. Harvey, a Concept of Capital. And we'd introduced earlier one of our other guests, which is, I want you to see this as a case study, but also framing this conversation around investor readiness. Simo Kubeka, who is with the AfriNova. Simo, I'd like to bring you back on to talk to us a little bit about this project, because this is another case of investment. We just talk about fear on both sides. For those people who have money to invest, this is a great opportunity for you to be a part of AfriNova. We always say, that, we sometimes, I'm talking about the diaspora, African Americans, Black businesses, we sometimes don't really understand this idea of investment and where to put the capital. Here is an opportunity, and I'm going to give you the mic to talk a little bit about the project, talk a little bit about what you guys are doing. I know you have your partner here as well, who is this is exciting to see Black businesses, Black individuals, stepping up and literally being a part of the highest, if you may, ranking of these kinds of stuff. Simo, go ahead, please.
Yeah, thank you, Ricardo. Second attempt. Listen, first of all, I want to appreciate everybody for for getting this opportunity to talk to this. The one thing that I'd like to share and probably state, first and foremost, is that, like anything else, it's about the value proposition, but it's also about the people. And this is a story about people and our people. When I came into the journey, I talked to you about my management consultancy, but ultimately I'm a diaspora. I'm a son of a freedom fighter. I ended up in Europe, fleeing my country, my nation, our continent, and decided to come back to South Africa to invest. And the story of investing is about our stories and African stories. And I have my other colleague who was on the call, but the key thing about that is that this is not about an opportunity, and I want to give you 2 dates. This is not just about opportunity, but it's also about a calling. There is zero investors, leaders, or big opportunities coming from our people. And I'm talking about our people in terms of African Americans in South Africa. And the majority of that investment coming in from different type of wealth that is not necessarily associated with us. And that's where a continent. And for me, coming back was really to drive that. The call out is that we have something which is unique in itself, because what does it do? It talks to 3 value propositions, but more importantly, it talks about an end-to-end solution, wherein an end-to-end production, where you have creative film, where you have services that have to support the film industry, and you've got, as Ricardo mentioned, our studio, which is the largest from a square acreage perspective in Africa, and we are reaching out on the 23rd and the 30th of July this year to give opportunity to investors to come in, and in particular we're looking for our people to participate, because there is none of our participation. But what makes it unique is that it is actually the bedrock of what's here today. So Ricardo, as you know, in Atlanta we have the Autumn Bailey, which is one part of the content, right? And Autumn Bailey, she produced a number of films recently. The Color Book, which I mentioned, once again just resonates well and fit within that story of not just African stories, but our people's stories and stories in general coming out from Africa. And that is really the value proposition. It's in Cape Town. It's an hour away from less than an hour away from the airport, about 20 minutes. But more importantly, it's one of the most amazing, beautiful locations. And I think that's what also makes it so special, is because we don't have that representation. We talk about ownership, we talk about wealth, we talk about land, such a key part. We've not been able to participate. So really calling out to that perspective, because what we have already achieved is, the productions have been already with the Netflix, the Amazons, Paramounts, and that is already happening. What we're now bringing together is a one end-to-end solution, which makes it super unique, in my opinion. But also, it's the team of people. Autumn Bailey, she's an Atlanta sister, and when I met her, and I realized I met my sister. And I am Zulu, for those who you don't know. And Zulu, we're part of Guna people. Historically, we came from West Africa, and reality is that we connected back, and she's now participating as part of that. And I have another partner, Damien, who's a CEO who came from a similar type of story, right? He comes from the other side. And we connected to build this value proposition together. And really what makes it special is I'm able to talk to it now and to say, hey, one of the key persons who enabled us to do this is here at the call with Ricardo, who introduced me to this group. And that's how also I managed indirectly to meet Autumn Bailey and really to talk about the Atlanta versus South Africa. So that's kind of one full circle. But once again, as I said, it's also about the people. People invest in passion and passionate and drive to know that ultimately when it becomes difficult, you're going to deliver on that basis. And this is what we all bring together. And now that also is a key that I will say, if anything, when it comes to investing, is make sure the people that are driving it are committed to the cause, because you want your return. And what we're saying to you, this is not about investing into us. This is about investing into you, because that's what this value proposition is really to change the paradigm. And like I said, I would really want to thank the opportunity to talk to that, but we are immensely proud. And really, it's a culmination of diaspora, it's a culmination of Africa, and a culmination of getting together with yourselves and in America, in my opinion, presenting a global story from our backgrounds and from our content and continent.
Ricardo, you're on mute.
I am so sorry. Yes, thank you, Simo. So this is huge. You do have an opportunity call coming up that you'll be expounding some more on this. So if you're on the side of the investor, and if you are able to invest in an opportunity like this, this is an opportunity for you as part of the diaspora to be a part of this, because this is massive. Film is massive, and it's not going away. I don't think anytime soon. If you've watched it, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime in the last 24 hours, then these guys are on the other side of it. And so the more you go across that TV and you turn that remote on, that's the end result of what these guys are building the infrastructure to support. So please join the opportunity call if you can. We'll put something in the chat. Simo, thank you so much. I think the first opportunity call is coming up, but you can download that information. And if you are serious about investing into, we're talking about investment readiness, but we're talking to both you as an investor, but also you as someone who is interested in receiving investment. This is for those who are an investor, who are looking to invest in something big, invest in something great. This is that opportunity. Sign up for that opportunity call. We're gonna go back. Thank you, Simo. We're gonna go back to the conversation around the capital readiness, and I wanna also ask about to both of you, Sabrina and Dr. Harvey, what how much of wealth creation begins with mindset rather than money?
100%. Back to you, Ricardo. No, 100%.
So this is all about mindset. This is really not about money at all, right? Because you could burn the money up, but it's all about the mind.
Right. And working in these spaces in terms of mindset forever, and it's become almost like a buzzword that for some mean nothing. But the wealth does. I mean, Simo just talked about leadership and so forth. And leadership has to have that growth mindset. And sometimes the fundamentals are overlooked. Your pitch deck, I put a template in the chat during doing your business self inventory, because unless all those fundamentals in terms of the questions you've asked yourself, we're in July, we're entering the fourth quarter of this year. What are your determinations? I don't say goals. What are your determinations by December 31st? What are you going to achieve financially? And that's part of the wealth mindset. What are you going to sell? And who is and I would like to also, in terms of fundamental, because I'm always doing an inventory myself. My customer, your customer. Who is your customer? And what pain point is your business solving for your customer? They're experiencing it right now. Is it government? Is it a nonprofit organization? Is it B2C? What are they sitting right now in their offices? And what is your business solving for them? And have you articulated that? Because I have a million, from the beginning of time, I have a million different versions of my pitch deck. And when I look at the early vision, it does not convey the value proposition. Was in the early version, was not investor ready, was too much text on the screen, didn't get to the point, didn't convey in investor speak, didn't even tell a story, didn't even tell the massiveness of the TAM, the total addressable market. And if we're not able to articulate that very succinctly, we're not going to be investor ready, because the investor's not hearing you. And then being able to convey that in an elevator. When I was introduced, I gave you an elevator pitch on what Wekeza does. We all have to have those elevator pitches, and then also add some data points in it in terms of your traction and what you're doing right now. So the wealth mindset starts with the fundamentals. It starts with the foundation, Ricardo.
Yeah, and Dr. Harvey, as you respond to this, I want you to talk a little bit about concept to capital framework, and why is this important, though, for entrepreneurs to think beyond this idea of just simply raising money?
Sure. So first, the original question, mindset, 100%. I totally agree. I think that's so important for us because when the James Webb Telescope came online, right? Many of us who remember the Hubble telescope, we was like, oh my goodness, look at this universe. When the James Webb came online, oh my goodness, we're now looking at our universe and it's ever expanding. And I think that's one of the mindset pieces that we get to adopt as entrepreneurs. It's like, you have this ever expanding universe. What about your market? What about even your own potential, friends? Because there are markets, there are needs, there are opportunities, there are ways that we begin to flow in and out of that. So it's not a fixed pie for us. And we tend to think of it that way based upon our upbringing, our training. Nay, let us talk about religion. Come on now. And those narratives that have contributed that way. With regard to concept to capital, which is why it's named such, the concept, where does that begin, right? Isn't it interesting, for the ladies on the line, that they go to a cosmetologist, and that's where people would have conversations, with their cosmetologist. Well, the cosmos speaks to the cosmos. That's your universe. That's your world. That's where you start thinking and framing about how you go about doing your work and what do we do. How do we think about our businesses, right? And we're not just hustlers. You know what? We are meeting a need for such a time as this, and there are people who need what it is that we have. So in the language that we've used in taking concept to capital, our job, our goal is to get you as close to the money as we can. We start talking about, are you basically at a core level fundable? Here in the United States of America, there are 30 million small businesses. 90% of them are unbankable. Well, what then options are available, right? Beyond friends, family, savings, and the like. How do we then think about that? And so there's alternative financing. There are other options that are available to us because there's this ever expanding universe, even in terms of finance for us. And so that's what I want us to really get into and see. Opportunity is before us. Let us seize the day. And the good news is this, friends. Help is not on the way. Help is here. And we're here to support you from beginning basic finances and understanding, as we see through Wekeza. That foundation is so very, very important that we move beyond the coffee table conversations we had as children to begin moving into this type of ecosystem and this type of community where when we want to go ahead and do something, the fun thing about being with the GOC and our group here is that not only can you be held, we can also hold you accountable and we can help.
Ricardo, I'd like to dovetail on what Dr. Nicholas, the brilliant points that he just provided. If I went to any of your LinkedIn pages right now for your business, I'm an investor. Would I understand the opportunity that your business provides? Is your LinkedIn profile optimized? So if I'm an investor and I'm looking for someone that sells paper clips, is it optimized so that I can find you? And sometimes I go to LinkedIn pages and I'm not sure what the person's really doing. And so I would encourage you to use these AI tools, whether the ChatGPT or Claude, in terms of putting what your existing profile is, whether it's a nice master photo there, exactly. And does your business have its own LinkedIn page where you're up? So you're marketing your business. How are people going to, or entities or investors going to, accelerators are going to find you if it's not optimized? And so please use Claude or ChatGPT and do a self-inventory of your own social media presence, not only LinkedIn, but IG, etc.
Yeah, thank you, Sabrina. So one of and I run a firm with Barry's Group. We connect capital to opportunities and opportunities to people, essentially through facilitating capital raise, etc. One of the things that I've experienced is the failure of due diligence. This idea of due diligence, it doesn't go so well for the most part. Everything looks good on the front end, but once you start peeling the onion back, so to speak, things can't really progress. What in your perspective, to both of you, what are the most common reasons you think business fail investor due diligence? Like what do you think it is? From where I sit, there are a number of reasons that I've seen, but I'd love to kind of hear your perspective. What do you think this is?
I would say your legal documents, organizing documents with articles of corporation, who's on your cap table, how much shares do you own versus maybe your co-founder, what state are you registered? Some investors only want companies, this is just some, only want, even if you're abroad, they want you still to be a recognized entity in Delaware. They feel that's a more friendly state. And financial statements, bank statements. So you have, every time that I'm going through the due diligence process, you have I'm asked for an executive summary, background on all the founders. They'll do a research in terms of your own history. Are there any scandals? Because they're adverse, in terms of a risk to that. They want definitely all the financial, all the legal documents, there's a document, it escapes me right now, but it's a shareholder document. So my shareholder document, so my co-founder and I have separate documents. Keith owns this amount of shares, I own this amount of shares. Investors, programs generally want that information. Investors definitely want that information. I have a data room. Does everyone have a data room? So if an investor shows up right now and says, Rochelle Marcel, send me your data room. And so in that data room, and I'll put a link in the chat, what you should have ready to go to be investor ready. I'm going to get that right now as Dr. Nicholas adds.
Sure. Thank you so very much for that, Sabrina, because again, on one side, they're the basics, right? The fundamentals, foundational. Check out our last YouTube video that we had where we had attorney Rachel Nunn when we started having those conversations around due diligence. So I refer folks to that. But here's the other piece too. I'm former military, and one of the phrases we used to use is assumption is the mother of all screw ups. So we're not going to assume. We're going to do our basics, but then we're going to have a conversation. And in the conversation, we're saying, anything else? Right? We're able to prepare you by even just being here right now, having the basics. Sabrina's being very, very generous with us and sharing, Google Docs and the like about pitch decks, about the basics around what needs to happen. But then remember, this is a conversation. Remember, let's shift these power dynamics. Friends, we have something to offer that investors want, and we can grow and have an impact together. So friend, is there anything else? We have these things, all right? What else would you like to see? The other thing that I think also messes us up is context. Remember, we're in a Western context. We're here, in this, United States of America, and we're seeking to go somewhere else, right? But then there are people from outside who are seeking to invest in us. What are some of those assumptions that go about? I had a conversation with a brother, from Tanzania, right? As a result of our East Africa delegation. I asked him the question. I said, what are you looking for in an investor? And so I was expecting to have conversations around, the funding arrangement, be it debt, equity, hybrid, or whatever. This brother said to me, I'm looking for a brother. Like, what? The importance, the impetus, the imperative of relationship, we tend to discount that because as Westerners, we want to get down to business. Right. When Chairman Ricardo and I were in Ethiopia, before you talk anything, we're going to have some coffee.
Yes.
It doesn't matter whether you drink coffee or not. We're going to have some coffee.
That's right.
All right. And then as we learned here, my context being an African American Southerner, now we're going to have to talk about mom and them. Mm-hmm. We need to get to know one another because this is going to be about trust. This is not a transactional relationship. It's going to be long term. And so I don't want us to make assumptions. We're going to talk about context. We're going to talk about culture and how we're able to do that as we do our work together.
Yeah, thank you both. And all the investments that I've made, it was never into the project. It was actually in the person. And so there's a huge difference there in terms of even if you invest in the stock market, a lot of time it's that belief in the leader of that stock that you're actually investing in that you think can take it to the next level. That's why you actually do invest. I want to talk about, we have a few minutes left, but I want to talk about international investment and sort of how does all of this translate to you if you're not in Atlanta, if you're not in the US, what does it actually look like as you sort of expand? Because you can go global from anywhere. We heard someone say they're from South Africa. People might be from other parts of the world here. But how does that translate into international sort of, investment readiness as an international business, maybe coming into the US or going from the US outward? We're going to drop our poll now, so please be on the lookout. I'm going to hit the launch. I think we've got a couple of questions we'd love to get your feedback from. We'd love for you to participate. If you have a question for Dr. Harvey or Sabrina, a question, please raise your hand, and we'll take a question for you. We'll probably take one or two questions if you have one for them. But as we wait for you to ask your question or raise your hand, there's the poll. Would love for you to jump in and participate. But Before Rachel, I see your hand. That's pretty awesome. We got a question from Rachel. Before you jumping, Sabrina and Dr. Harvey, for businesses who are seeking to go global, do things abroad internationally, how does this investment readiness change? Does it change? Is it the same thing? What sort of consideration, additional things that these entrepreneurs should think about when they're preparing for international investors? So someone who doesn't understand your culture, they're not from around here, and they're willing to come and share this bread with you.
Oh my gosh, have get a lawyer. Get a lawyer from that. I have Wekeza has a lawyer in Kenya and of course here in the United States that understands not only the cultural dynamics, but also the regulatory dynamics. My business is highly, regulated. And so in order to have that lawyer needs to have that cross-border expertise as well. What are the international requirements as relates to, for example, a founder on the continent of Africa receiving investment from a US-based or European-based investor? And so if an investor comes to you, you do need representation so that you make sure that you're checking all the boxes as it relates to regulatory requirements in taking in capital from abroad. And your own country may have say, well, you can't accept this money, or you can't, maybe you're a investor on the continent, maybe you can't invest in another country's founder. Whether you can or not, that needs to be answered by a lawyer.
Dr. Harvey?
Sure. I think one of the things that we can also do for our outside investors is have those questions answered for them, right? We're on calls like this, so someone reaches out to you from a given country, right? As you prepare to have that conversation and prepare to have that appointment, have those questions. Say, oh, so you are from Uganda. Okay, well, this is what the regulations are in Uganda with regard to investing, in the United States, and vice versa, right? We're in a particular political environment right now, right? And so people will have some hesitation and some trepidation about investing in countries in the United States. Similarly, when we, as United States companies, are reaching out to certain countries, we become under scrutiny. Take the time to check that out for ourselves as well. And so again, as we've said before, we're not going to assume. We're going to take a minute, take a breath, take a step back. And, in the words, of our old friend and attorney, Johnny Cochran, preparation, preparation, preparation.
Yeah.
I would
Rachel,
also
go ahead,
also
Sabrina.
also like to add that, in your data room, and I'm posting what your data room should have, and that it doesn't have to be anything fancy, it could be a part of your Google Drive, a link can be sent to an investor, is that your partnership. I have partnerships around the world, and that we have those agreements part of the data room because investors want to know, who are you in partnership with?
Yeah, no, amazing. So, Rachel, you had a question. Did you still want to ask?
I did. Thanks, Ricardo. I actually put my hand down because I didn't want to derail the conversation. Thank you to Dr. Harvey and Sabrina for all of the information that you shared. But my question is actually for you, Ricardo, and it's related to an Egyptian delegation. I just wanted to see if we can follow up on that because I do have some interest from ministries here, and we're building something already. So just wanted to see when we can connect.
Yeah, absolutely. Please private message me in the chat. Send me your stuff and I'll set something up. But that's actually great. From Egypt, Rachel is actually you're in Cairo, yes?
Yes,
Or
yes, okay.
Rachel is all the way from Cairo. So our message is going far and wide, folks. And we'll be working with a delegation from Egypt to come to the Go Global conference. So if you want to meet Rachel and the delegation in person, get ready for that. We mean business, folks, and this is extremely important. Another example of why we do this. Thank you, Rachel. We'll get something scheduled on the books for you. If you have again, we're coming down to the wire, but if you have a question for the guests, please raise your hand. I want to ask you two more things, guys. One on leadership, and then your practical advice as we wrap this up. As we kind of think about leadership and what does it actually look like for the investment readiness program. Can you tell me a little bit about how does leadership play? What role does leadership play into all of this as you are actually seeking in investment? Dr. Harvey?
Surely. Um, Again, our investors, they're investing in us. And so how do we demonstrate the leadership within our organization? Questions, again, around governance and operations, our team, because that's going to be evaluated as well. And so I think that then speaks to the confidence that the investors will have, which will then lead to the capital.
Everything.
Yeah.
You're perfect as you are, and the world is, you're investable, and the world and that perfect investor and investors are looking for you. And so we all, starting with me, have to position ourselves so they can find us and be ready when the knock comes to the door, and it will come.
Yeah. And another quick question for you is, if a business is weak, can investor actually fix that? Can investor fix a weak business, or do they expect the fundamentals to already be in place?
Depends on the investor. Um, and it should be said that some people will show up as investors. I put what your data room should have in the chat. Will show up and they're not really investors. So the question to them is, are you deploying capital right now? Which means, do you have some money? Are you ready to invest in some businesses? Because some so-called investors will try to waste your time. And so do you have to be perfect? I don't think, it depends on what that means, but you do have to have your foundation and your fundamentals. You do have to be perfect in that. Everything else can be tweaked. What I say to potential investors is that I'm not just looking for your check. I'm looking for someone that is mission aligned in turning on the economic lights of the African diaspora. That's my specific type of investor. And so their check is not just enough for me. They have to be ethical, because as they're doing their due diligence on me and Wekeza and my co-founder, we're doing our due diligence on them to make sure that they are who they say they are.
Yeah, and I see Tyronda, you have a question. Go ahead, please.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Hi, how's everyone?
Good morning.
Good. This is my first time on this particular platform. I'm back in Atlanta. I travel back and forth between California and Atlanta. So all my businesses are based in California, but I'm trying to relocate to Atlanta also. So I have what you call a grocery boutique. And what that is a full service grocery store where we get all the food, the food's behind the counter, and we just get all the food for the customers. We sell meat packages, et cetera. And we take WIC and EBT, and we start off as a WIC only store, which is not really a concept, WIC only, but it's just something that people use. But in other words, to the states and to the government of the United States of America, you're just a store, a grocery store that accepts WIC. But we're set up like a WIC only. So that's one of my businesses. And I've had stores in the past. And what I run into now is mostly capital for inventory, because groceries, it's constant. You know what I mean? People are constantly buying food. And so as a small, female, Black-owned businesses, I definitely am looking for capital. I'm normally the type of person who's like bootstraps, like a lot of businesses that I do them myself, meaning I, just fund it myself 100%. Me and my partners, whoever I'm in partnership with. However, what I've run into, and I'm almost 60, is that in the United States of America, we cannot deny the redlining. You could have the best business plans in the world, and you could have all the money sitting in the bank accounts and all of that. Your credit could be, FICO score could be high, and still somehow or another, they find some reason not to fund you. So I think, two things. One is, and I just so you guys know, I'm a business developer. So I write business plans for other people, right? And I've gotten people money, you know what I mean, from my business loans. But one of the things, and the seed money is one of the initial problems for most small Black owned businesses. A lot of times they can't get funding up front. And it's always got to be some program that has a favor that might be giving out money, as opposed to, like they said, like the regular way of just getting money. And, that's kind of like a big problem. So I don't know if you guys want to elaborate a little bit on that.
Can I speak to that,
Sure,
Yolanda?
sure. I would love it.
I
Thank you.
listen to words very closely because words have energy.
Uh-huh.
And I've heard the word small twice.
Okay, big, global.
I ask you and us never to use unless you have small feet, don't use the word small as it relates to your impactful business that will feed people who have no access to retail marketed price food.
I
That's
hear
your
you.
mission.
Okay.
Because you said small and I'm a Black woman and I just start feeling, whoa, we don't have no power? What? No, I reject that. And I encourage you to reject that. Never use the word small as it relates to your impactful work. There are people in this country, United States of America, that have zero access to food. And yes, there are some people that are going to, or businesses that are going to be rejected. Hallelujah. Thank goodness. Every no was an opportunity. And I'm so glad they said no, because I probably would have eventually. Okay. I just did a quick Google search of California, not knowing your industry or whatever. There are grants out there. But you have to articulate after you get rid of those small, and I'm a Black woman, if there's accessing to grants in California, who is your customer? What pain point are you solving so that an investor or a grant program can get a return on their investment and make social impact?
Definitely
Yes.
share that with me, because I write grants, and for-profit businesses in California, there's not many grants. I'm not a nonprofit. I'm a for-profit. And
There's some grant, some access that you just haven't come across. I refuse to
I'm going to work with you.
I refuse to believe you just haven't uncovered it because you're running around talking about small.
Rhonda, this is exactly what we do in our conversation around.
Yes.
We've created this ecosystem where you're getting basically money ready at whatever level you are and preparing you for what type of investment is appropriate. What type of outside money do you need? Are you want to go traditional? Do you need to go alternative? Whatever. You are now in our ecosystem. Thanks for joining and being with us today. In the chat, you would have seen from our Concept to Capital call, we're doing this at noon today. So these opportunities are here for you. I've said it earlier. Help is not on the way. Family, help is here. And let's go ahead and not only, as Sister Sabrina has said, not just the ROI, but there's an impact that we want to make in the world. And we are here for such a time as this.
Yeah, and because it went back to your question, Dr. Nicholas or Ricardo, about a wealth mindset. How we communicate about the value of our own lives and the work that we're doing just shuts down opportunities immediately. And I just encourage all of us to watch what we say about ourselves and what's available. Because if nothing's available, then everybody, let's just give up and go home and then watch Netflix. or whatever.
Well, Netflix is available, but I wanna tell you guys we are out of time because the hour has passed. So we're
No,
six
I want
minutes
to
over.
stay.
But you can join Dr. Harvey at 12 today.
Yeah.
I think he's got some conversation that you can continue to have. Guys, as we wrap this up, we're like 49% of the poll. I want to get to 50. That's usually when it reveals. So we just need somebody else to finish up. But as we wrap this up, ladies and gentlemen, Sabrina, Dr. Harvey, what is your, as we kind of think about this as a practical advice, someone who is listening, right? You heard Tyronda, you heard from folks who are listening today, wants to become investment ready over the next 6 months, over the next 12 months. They just want to be ready. They just want to be ready for the opportunity when it comes. What should they begin working on right after this call? Immediately. What's the game plan suggestion for them? Sabrina
Dr. Nicholas, you want to start? Okay.
or Dr. Nicholas, whoever wants to go first.
I'll go because I know Dr. Nicholas wants to tease for the 12 o'clock. A very important call. Please join Dr. Nicholas. Please hog tie yourself to Dr. Nicholas Harvey. Okay. And I placed in the chat resources for you to begin right now to reset your own relationship, not only yourself, but with your business and how you speak about your business and what you believe in terms of your capacity for your business and being investor ready. Please do that. And what is your determination by in the fourth quarter? What are you definitely going to achieve? Tyronda James, thank you for allowing me to yell at you. It was doing so in love.
Oh, it was
right?
just a love.
Yes, encourage you, however, to in all of us, because I'm surrounded. I have my board of directors, people that I go to, advisors. Find those people that are in that industry that have that mission to surround you and guide you and lift you. All of us. But now, towards this end of this year, the pedal is on the metal, and whatever we're doing, we can do more. But it starts with self.
Fantastic. Dr. Harvey.
Great, Sabrina. If it is to be, it's up to me. Friends, we have everything that we need right now in the room. And what I would leave for folks is when you're thinking about money, think about first its purpose. So it's going to be aligned with some strategic goal, right? So then you're able to get the right money at the right time for the right purpose. And we'll leave you. We'll hope to see you at noon. The information is in the chat. And let's go ahead and make the money, but don't have the money make you.
Fantastic. Well, guys, we are at the end of the Power Hour. I'm sharing the poll. A number of you have been involving investment. A lot of you are currently not involved, and you have opinions of what should make a good investor. Most people need help. 83% of you need help with preparing for investment. So this is the reason we're doing this conversation, and I hope it helps at least one of you on this call today. We will certainly be talking next week, more readiness, because again, if we're going to do this, we have to over communicate. We have to train our subconscious mind about how to actually do these things, and it requires constant repetition. And so as we end today, I want to thank you. I want to bid you a good day. I appreciate you jumping in and learning alongside with me. Thank you, Sabrina. Thank you, Dr. Nicholas. We certainly appreciate you doing this. So we're going to go out with our video, but thanks everybody. We appreciate it. Have a great day. Hope this was helpful. We'll see you next week, same time, same place. Thank you guys. Great job, everybody. Have a
Bye-bye.
good day.